that's one of the ways to kind of engage the kids and engage the groups. If you can't keep their focus, that's when you want to do a camp song. Be like, you know what? I'm not going to stand up here and for the 4 millionth time try and get your attention. Start singing a song. Remember how I said about the kind of singing your instructions in the opera voice? Engage them that way. Make sure that when you have the general rules for the group, that you're consistent with your rules, and you warn of transitions. You need to, I would say, give the kids a good 5-minute transition. Even if it's not really 5 minutes, give them the forewarning and then give them 2 minutes or whatever. 5 minutes is a really long time, believe it or not. So you can give them, hey, you have 5 minutes to finish up your activity, and then gauge it off of your slowest camper. So, and then your goal is to, if you're my slowest camper, I'm gonna watch you finish, put in your last peg for your design and your ironing thing. I'm gonna watch you finish your cat's eye. I'm gonna watch, so then that person doesn't have a meltdown. So then I'm going to help her engage and make sure she completes it. The rest of the group is gonna be able to do that. If you have a student that does not transition well, that's the person you're going to watch. But you're gonna wanna give that. And then you're going to list out the expectations of cleanup or whatever in that sense. That's good group management skills. That's an expectation that I have out of you. I don't want to see any stunted, rough transitions. So that is the other thing I'm going to ask you about tomorrow is how you let a transition. There's plenty of transitions in after school and before school. All of you should be able to lead a transition between today and tomorrow. So be conscientious on how you're going to transition. If that means that you need to talk to the staff out at your site, or if that's you by yourself and you're like, what am I going to change and how I can make that successful, and evaluate and adjust. So take a look at your transitions. If you already know, if you're going to lead a group activity and it's a craft project and that's your activity, if you know your activity is probably not going to take the full 45 minutes, what do you think you should do? Yeah.
Have an activity ready for the kids that finish really fast so they can go and read or do something else, they stay busy.
Exactly, and then if you can list out the things that they can do, here are the things that you can do when you complete it. You're going to want to, if it's a sit-down activity, if it's a craft or something like that, you're not going to want to say when you're done you can go free play out on the playground. You're going to want to choose a search your word, you're going to want to choose draw something, or color something else that's similar to the activity that you're doing, because you don't want to entice them to whip through the activity. You're going to entice them to take their time and not whip through it for some reason or another. And hopefully your activity is super duper cool, so then they won't do that. Positive reinforcing them when they're behaving correctly. This is the other big piece that you have to make unconscious, more conscious. Because when I'm looking around, it's a lot easier for me to be like, oh, we need to do something to keep him active. Oh, we need to see what's going on over here. Oh, I need to separate those two to see what's not going well. Instead, I should be like, thank you for maintaining eye contact with me. I know it's a long day. Thank you for coming in today and recognizing the help, and thank God you're a list person. It's so much easier to more focus on and handle what's not going well than what is going well. So think about that as well out at your sites today. So when you transition, you're looking for who? Who is the slowest and who needs the biggest help for the transition. When you're supervising activity, you're looking at how to keep them engaged and what's going well as what's not going well. And then guidance intervention. If you see those things, all of that should come together. If you utilize these tools, giving the positive reinforcement, recognizing the kids that transition differently, and reading your group, this should greatly decrease your discipline and your guidance situations. Do you believe that? Like, does this seem logical? So I've just given you a bunch of tools in order of how to lead a group and how to manage a group and how to do discipline. How many of these are new? Are any of these new, or any of these giving you something to think about? Like, what tool have you figured out for yourself? What are you going to try new today and tomorrow morning?
I'll try to be more like that, more positive reinforcement just consciously, just because I know that I don't do it enough right now, so.
Okay, write that down.
I don't know,
What are you going to work on? What tool are you going to use?
I think with transitions, like the lining up from tallest to shortest or even a song, I think that would help with a lot of transitions at Man's.
So write transitions down. All of you, I want you to write down the tool that you're going to work on today. You all have to lead a transition, but I want to know what tool you're going to use today or tomorrow morning. Maybe both.
I can't Rachel, always think of
You need pens.
Those are my favorite at all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I legitimately have
Exactly. Be prepared.
It's like a Monday.
Yeah, that's what I need to work on, being prepared.
I think sometimes with those little boys, it's hard to like tell the kids
First
what
goal,
they're
take
doing
the
right.
bus in.
Yeah.
Second goal.
I totally get what she's saying. Like it's easy to like, talk to the little
Like
kids that are
Dan, Eliana, like all
Right.
out in Melina.
or like when we give a group like talk, like they think it's for them too, but really like it's not.
I always feel bad when Eliana gets in trouble because she just like breaks down. She doesn't get in trouble very often.
Yeah,
She
she
does.
I should get talking.
Everyone's got something written down? Does anyone need more time?
That's why I'm single.
Okay. So here is your summary of kind of what we talked about. Guidance intervention. It starts with we. What's my stress level, my philosophy, my role, my responsibility, and my goals? What's my role, responsibility in this situation? Is it to teach, model, celebrate, practice, reward and reinforce, or confront the situation? These are the different expectations when you see misbehavior. What are your goals? Teach self-control, choose to respond and not react, take issue with the behavior, not the child, and focus on the specific skill that you're working on. So that's like a nice little summary. Here is, so assuming we looked at the environment, we talked about transition, we talked about trying to prevent all the misbehavior. So when the misbehavior happens, kids typically kind of, remember when I said they kind of will say whatever you want them, they'll say whatever they think you want to hear. Not necessarily what they're really going to change or what they're really going to do. Some kids, I call that fight or flight. Immediate response. Sorry, I'll never do it again. You know what I'm saying? So they're in fight or flight. That what fight or flight looks for like in different kids changes. Some kids run, some kids scream, some kids make the situation worse, some kids become argumentative, it becomes a power struggle. Everybody kind of has a different situation. All of them, whether it's to tell, like the easiest is the one that's like, I'll say I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it, this is why. That's still fight or flight. They're still not learning anything. They're still not going to kind of change that behavior. They just have learned really well how to get out of trouble then at that point. You need to get them out of fight or flight. You have to get them out of that. I mean, it's literally a huge class on brain development and being in fight or flight and how to engage kids and get them out of fight or flight. So here are different things and tools to get kids out of fight or flight. A chill out time. Take a break over there, chill out. I want to see your breathing go back to normal. I want to see your muscles looser because you're making fists right now. You're giving them physical things that you're looking for in order to be able to say, yep, you're ready to talk to me. Take them away from other kids. Kids also respond differently when they feel like they're being spotlighted. Most misbehavior, when they feel like they're being spotlighted, will become class clown or make the situation worse because they're embarrassed. These are the two typical responses for no child is ever like deals with that attention appropriately. So you need to get them away from that situation and divert the attention away from them before you can even get them out of fight or flight. Just sit near them and be silent. Wait for it to out. Even if they're like, just let them get it out. If they're just laying it all out there and they're being belligerent and saying inappropriate things and swearing and whatever, just sit there. Let them get it out. Don't let them hurt other people. Talk about something else. This is one of my favorite tactics because it kind of throws them off. What are you doing tomorrow? Wait, what? No, seriously, like, do you have baseball tomorrow? Wait, what? Do you have baseball tomorrow? You engage them and you literally shift their brain functioning and their thought processes into something else. You're not going to go back to the problem, but getting them out of fight or flight so you can talk to the problem, that is what your goal is. So change the subject, talk about something else. Change your tone. God, that is huge. That is huge. When you talk to people, I become very clipped, and when I talk to you, you need to listen, and we need to do it right now. If I change the way I tone, what are you doing tomorrow? Huh? What are you doing tomorrow? Change your tone. Make sure that, I also get very quiet, and I'm a very loud talker, so make sure that you keep your normal talking voice and just chill them out. Acknowledge your anger or your feelings. I'm frustrated right now. You seem frustrated right now. Well, let's talk it out. Here's what I'm going on. This is what I'm feeling. I feel like you were trying to have this activity and you got frustrated. Is that what happened? And get them to acknowledge their feelings as well. Find and acknowledge the source. You got frustrated. You didn't feel like you were out, but you were. How are we going to fix this later? Figure out what the source of the problem is. Empathy. It stinks to lose. A lot of you guys are very competitive, so you should be able to relate to the kid that's freaking out. So be empathetic with them. Talk to them about it. And then empower them. You have control over this situation. Right now, are you playing the game? Are you being competitive? Are you playing the game right now? No. So how can we still play the game? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the guy that freaks out every time that you get tagged out? Because who's going to want to be around that? Or do you want to be the guy that's like, all right, and then still play the game? Which one do you want to be? And then, so lay it out there. These are all the tools to kind of get them out of fight or flight. So, do kids pop into your mind when you think about this?
Yeah.
So that's what I want you guys to do right now, is if a kid pops into your mind, I want you to think about what tool you're going to try with a specific student. Because you know, if a kid pops into your mind, this is going to happen either in the next shift or soon. So write that down. Like, maybe you just want to take a picture of that. Start labeling children after it.
Ashton, Miles, Mason. Oh. Yeah.
Mason cried.
But I was like, I just want to tell him to suck it up. Like, I don't care that you're crying. You cry all the time. Just stop.
With Mason D, I'm like, tell me when you're done.
Yeah.
And then I walk away.
I just think he stares
But
at
I'm not. Nope. You cannot talk
Yeah,
to me
like
until you're
they
done.
can't be that talked about Tim.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah,
And that's what he
cried.
does.
Everything.
He sits over there, he's like,
When you ignore him, then you
Oh, I know. Like when he he's like right here.
Does he touch guys like
because he
that?
has no personal bubble.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't go at me like that.
snack in my face the other day. I was like, Mason, you're right here. Get out of my face.
That's
I know.
interesting. I've never thought about it. He doesn't. He doesn't come up to you and he's
He doesn't get in my face.
He doesn't, like, does he want to hug you or?
I mean, if we leave in the morning, sometimes he does.
But not like when he's upset. He's not like.
He's done that to me though when I went and subbed it.
I would say the one time I subbed, he was like,
well,
But did he like hug you?
it wasn't.
I got a mom complex hard.
No, he didn't hug me actually. He just came up and was like, by my leg, he's just like crying. I'm like, well, can we cry here or just play? Talk about what you think is going to be more fun. And then I walked
I'll come back and you want to tell me what you do.
He is one of them that I'm just constantly shocked there's no progress making. Because none of us let him get away with it. I'm just like, that's amazing. That's stubborn to the T.
That's because I think somebody
Okay, so does everyone have their kid and their what they're gonna try? Tools. Okay. So I'm a big fan of like summarizing and like trying to put things into like 1, 2, 3. So these are some of the things that I saw that I liked in this one. The conflict resolution skills, the stop, regain composure, self-control. This is what I also like to call like get them out of fight or flight. Identify, let's talk about it, let's find and then generate possible solutions, evaluate whether or not these solutions are good or not, and then plan how you're going to carry it out. So I really like this because this is a full process of when you actually go through the full process. As I said, sometimes it's a try again. With Mason B, it's a typical tool of like, nope, come talk to me when you're done crying. You do not have to have a full conversation with him. But the students, and when you actually go through the full process, this is a nice summary. This is a nice like, did I do all these things type of a thing. A note to, like, when you're talking to the kids and you say, what do you think your consequence should be? That is an underutilized tool. What the kids come up with is amazing. Like, once you get past the, like, in the summertime, I'll lose swim time. No. That's not going to teach you anything. That's just going to have you spend all the swim time. What are we going to do to teach you how to prevent this from happening again? Well, the things that they come up with are amazing. 9 times out of 10, you end up having to scale it back to like a reasonable thing. But you're just like, that's great because now you're the cool because you're like now decreasing that punishment. But having them generate their own consequence, brilliant. Use that skill.
I got a question about that.
Sure.
So, like, what if their consequence, like, goes against, like, our licensing? Like,
Well, you can't do it.
okay.
But you can tell them they have to do
Are
that.
you better than self-ministered by then?
What is the consequence? I'm scared.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if they're like saying, I want to do push-ups and stuff for my consequence. If I should run laps.
Will that pertain to the? It has to match the deed.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out like what push-ups would
I
equal.
mean, I probably wouldn't have to do it anyways, but I'm
Right.
just saying, like,
I would say no, based on, here's something that you guys have to remember. In this room right now, there's no one else, but there's not very often that you are somewhere where you're not being observed. Constantly. Today I got a phone call on the bus drivers driving up Birch Street Hill. Community members call me all the time. All the time.
Your staff is wonderful.
Was that you? Yeah. You were driving too fast.
Which I'm not.
I'd like to know how fast they thought I was driving.
10 miles over the speed limit with children on the bus.
That's what they thought?
Yep.
That's what they said?
Yep.
How did they gauge that?
They were driving behind you. Why are you making me do this to you in public? But typically when these situations happen, I'm saying, like, I'm not upset about it. I will talk to you and we'll figure it out and those types of things because this is community observations. I will always get the information from you guys first and I will try and figure out what's going on and we'll make a plan. But they will always come to me. Sometimes it's the Chippewa and it's not you guys. But we are in the community all the time. Bus drivers, I don't know how many times when Eric first started, he got yelled at, like a parent called and complained about him because he let the kids car dance in the car and took his hands off the wheel when he was driving. It was me. It was me that was car dancing in the car with the kids at a stop sign, but the parents call all the time. And they give you guys, so I will figure it out and we'll talk to them and talk with them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, but you are observing, and the point of it is, if someone sees you have a kid do 20 push-ups, and it looks like I will get a phone call. You need to be conscientious that you are constantly, your tone, your demeanor, what you look like, how you're interacting with the kids is constantly being told to me. I've gotten, since last week, I got a parent or a principal emailed me from a teacher concern at one of the sites. I've gotten 2 community calls. A parent called. I've already talked to people. Like, you guys, it happens all the time.
We did get a good one, y'all.
We did, and we do. And I pass those on too. So.
No.
No, we don't?
What? No, he asked if it was about Sam Padium. I said no.
Oh. No, not that one. So just be conscientious of that. I will come talk to you immediately, and you will know if it's you, but just be aware. If you GPS where you're going on your phone as a driver and you're looking at it, people think you're texting, and they will call me. If you are on your phone too much, if you lay down and you're playing Sleeping Lions and you look like you've been laying down too long, people will call me because they think you're sleeping.
You hire these people?
I have hired these people. I've had staff. So here's another thing. If you are asleep on the buses but the kids are not, and people see you on the buses and the kids misbehaving, they'll call me as well too. If you fall asleep at a pool on the towels, people will take pictures of you and send them to me, and then I will fire you. So, like, literally, people talk to me all the time. People have no problem telling me what you're doing and what you're not doing. Okay, here is the part that I want to touch base with. Oh. I'm getting a text and not seeing what time it is. 2:19. Okay. Okay, above and beyond normal, redirection, misbehavior, watching your environment, we do have what we call high flyers. Students with additional behavioral concerns. Whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's, there's no diagnosis for Mason B, you just do Mason B, which kind of is fun. So it just, our high flyers, people that we have to have some information on, individualized plans. Here's what you need to know. You need to know if there's a diagnosis. You need to be able to gather the information. So information and data are the red flags and purple slips, and you have to have parent communication. You have to. These are the bare minimum things that you have to know in order to be successful in working with these kids. So I also need to know what hasn't been working. What have you tried? How are the behaviors, how they reacted to it? What have we tried? Where have we gone with it? And then we kind of move from there and we build expectations. Here's where we kind of get in trouble, and this is the communication between us. Students with additional needs, students with behavioral problems are not exempt from our expectations. We tailor the expectations for them. Virtue. Just because a student can't sit and watch during virtue doesn't mean that they don't do virtue. Sometimes you end up doing virtue one-on-one while someone else leads virtue. You don't exempt the students from the expectations. You adjust them to make sure that they meet. If it's a reasonable accommodation to make them engage in our activity, then that's what we do. So here are some of the challenges in that. We've had students with Asperger's that with headphones on are dancing around over here while we're leading a group activity, and then the kids pull this. Well, he gets to stand up, why can't I? He gets to do that over there, why can't I? Don't engage in that. Don't let them get away with that. You have individual expectations for all of them. I have individual expectations for all of you, but they're different. If some of you can't drive bus because you don't have the CDL license, but I still have expectations of you maintaining safety on the bus. There's different expectations for all of you. You have different expectations for them. Go to the root of that conversation. The root of that conversation is for them to get away with something in order to stand up. As soon as you say, do I treat you the same way I treat everyone else? No. So you need to focus and pay attention to what's going on. As soon as you engage in that power struggle, then that's when it becomes a bigger power struggle. Yes?
You answered
Oh, yay. Chance.
I was gonna say, can you like have that talk with like the whole group about like understanding? Like,
Yes and no.
Like,
So
I mean,
here's
not
the
with that kid obviously there, you're probably gonna be talking about.
Right. So here's the deal. Students that have additional needs, like all out, like where the parents want us to be like, in order for this kid to be successful, they need to understand my child and are A-okay with that, yes. But a good majority, as of lately, are not. Like my first instinct is Cody. A lot of the parents are A-okay with us talking about Cody. Here's why he looks that way. Here's why he can do these things and can't do these things. And this is what's going on. Because that parent is awesome and very at a good point in understanding that's what's going to make their child successful. But a lot of students with Asperger's or different diagnoses of why they need to be over here or whatever, they don't want us to have those conversations as a large group. What we say is a lot of the time, who was it that liked the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books and stuff like that last summer?
I have no idea.
Wasn't it in, maybe it was the summer before. They all blend. But there are students that need additional things. Be like, I just say to the kids that bring it up, he's got a different plan. He's doing different activities, he's doing his thing, and you're doing yours, right? Are you happy? Great. Are you not happy? You know, and as soon as like they know, like as soon as, oh, are you not happy? What do we need to work on? What's your individual plan? And then they're like, oh, wait a second. Wait, no, I don't want to have talk. I just want to stand up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of the time that's what I say. Oh, I talked to his mom and dad and we made a plan. Do you need an individual plan? Like, do we need to make a plan? Should we talk to your mom about that tonight? No. Boom, done. You guys gotta not buy into that. The other thing is, if a behavior, if we end up tailoring everything around one student's behavior instead of tailoring a student's expectations around what we're doing, I need to know so we can brainstorm that. Does that make sense? Because sometimes one student's behavior leads the whole entire group and summer. So we need to figure that out if that's what's happening. So I need to be brought on board, and we need to recognize that high flyer. So please bring me on board so we can understand that. Because sometimes that's not good. And sometimes that's training in the sense of you're going to be in charge of this student and making sure that the behaviors, and then they kind of like, here's the rest of the group, and the rest of the team's job is to keep the rest of their group going, and this person's job is to integrate this kid in and out of what we're doing. And sometimes we have to do that, so we need to adjust that. But sometimes what happens is you guys get so vested, which is great because you guys want to figure out someone to be successful, but now we have like 3 staff on 1 student to make sure that the staff and everyone's okay. Well, now the rest of the group isn't doing anything. And they're okay because they're great kids and they're doing their thing, but we want to make sure that it's 1 and the rest of the group is going and making sure that the program is. So we need to adjust some things and figure some things out, then that's what I need to know. That's why I stand up here, I'm a huge hand talker. It's a good workout. Okay, so that's kind of our high flyers. Site directors, you know-ish who your high flyers are. Yes?
I also think it's super important to tell your counselors because last summer we didn't address an IEP or behavior problem until like mid-July, and it was just super stressful for us and the parents and the kids. So like even before you meet the kids, like tell them about diagnosis.
This summer we've tried to do something different so the site directors are aware of our high flyers. So we want to contact the parents as soon as possible. Let's ask them to come in, you know, come to parent night. It's 6 to 8. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. And then we can meet them. And then you can meet the counselor that's in charge. And you can put all of those plans in place and build that relationship right away. Some of the kids, we get a honeymoon period where we have like a good solid 3 weeks with some of our students. And some of them, it's the worst is the first 3 weeks. So luckily sometimes it balances out for us, but we need to recognize and understand that. The easiest way to explain to a parent that has kids with additional needs about our program and ask what they need is, I always tell parents, I say, how's your kid at a birthday party? Do they get anxious because of the noise level? Do they get anxious because of the number of kids? Do they get anxious about the activities? Because we are basically a birthday party every single day. So how do you equip your child to be successful in that environment so we can equip him or her to be successful in ours? So that's how I typically kind of explain it to the parents, and then they kind of get it. Yes?
Do they know about parent night already, or do we actually have to call every single person?
We will be calling next week and reminding parents on
You
Monday
guys
and
or
Tuesday.
us?
You guys.
What day?
You will call your huddle groups. Well, we
Can
can.
we
You
do
guys
it
have to.
earlier?
Yeah, you can do it now if you want to.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. The expectation is that by Monday night, all the parents that are currently enrolled in the program get a phone call from their huddle group leader saying, "Hey, this is Michelle. I'll send out the script." Yes, we can. Yes.
Can we put in a picture with the kids last year?
Sure.
What's that?
The Meet the Staff, where I'm gonna ask you guys to put together a paragraph of like, my name is blah blah blah, and this is what I. Do you have any of your? My name's Autumn Egan. I went to school at Stowe, degree in Human Development Family Studies. This is my 16th year of running day camp. I'm super excited to spend the summer with your kid. And then there's a picture. So then they know what you look like and who you are. We make pretty colored ones for you guys to post outside your classrooms, and then we make black and white ones to hand out at parent night. In theory. Yep, you can email those all to me. So if you have pictures from last summer, but keep in mind that it becomes like this size. So make sure that whatever you send me is croppable, and it's going to be printed in black and white photo, but black and white. Okay, so your list of to-dos, transition. Use your tool with the student and come back with me with examples.
And what are you guys all gonna do when you leave here?
Clock out.